The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. This is the United Podcast Network.
The following program is closed captioned for the thinking impaired.
By tomorrow, I will rule the world!
You think he's gone? He's not gone. That's the whole point. He's never gone.
Is this some radical new therapy?
You see?
Let that run a little.
You were just talking to me.
Do you think that you could repeat the question?
Listen more attentively.
So you missed this Friday, Paul.
Must have been something.
You abandoned me. How dare you?
I thought I'd hear about that, especially on the air.
It's no fun doing it privately, right?
You got it.
Still trying to get everything up on my Facebook page. We just so discombobulated. It's
so what happened to the
today.
song? I was enjoying it.
Yeah, no, it was a good song. That's Melvin Taylor, who opened up our charity bash last week. We appreciate that. Hi, how you guys doing? How's everything? I'm Tom Duggan here on the Paying Attention podcast. Thank you, all three people.
Thank you. Please sit down.
Please, yes. Please
sit down, everybody. Everybody.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for listening to the program. We are on. We are at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe.
Studio 21. Where are the other 20?
I don't know. Downstairs, I think.
So many studios
very
around
big,
here.
Yeah, it's a very big building.
My gosh, yeah.
And we're high atop the skyscraper known as Two Guys Smoke Shop here in Salem, New Hampshire.
Boy,
you'll notice anything more than 2 stories in Salem, New Hampshire is a skyscraper.
Yeah, I look down and they're like ants down there.
Yeah. If you're a cigar guy, you really want to come by Two Guys Smoke Shop, see Dave or Mr. Jonathan or any of the guys downstairs. I'm not really a cigar guy. I smoke cigarettes, but my understanding from everybody that I know that smokes cigars, this is the place to get them. Like Dave can get just about anything you need. So come on and do that. We also want to thank our other sponsors. We have Two Guys Smoke Shop. We already mentioned that. Twin Lights Security. But I don't know why these guys love me so much. I really don't. And we've got a GoFundMe page where we're going to talk about in a couple minutes. But Pat McLaughlin and Mike Thibodeau at Twin Lights Security have sponsored our show. They've bought ads in the Valley Patriot. They sponsored our Valley Patriot charity bash and even donated $1,000 to our GoFundMe effort for a legal defense fund for the Valley Patriot because we're getting sued. So I don't know what it is that I did that made these guys love me so much. I just want to make sure that they understand that I love them back just as much because they've done an awful lot for me even just in the last few months.
It might be what you haven't done, and that is
talk about them.
Express yourself in a Tom Duggan kind of way about them, perhaps.
All righty, and then we've got Angelo at A&M Auto Body. Angelo over there. Yeah, he was at the bash. I was making fun of his accent because he's Italian, and I don't know why, but everybody around me seems to be Italian.
Yeah, the guy to your left is too.
So he runs A&M Auto Body, which is at the old Metropolitan Building on South Broadway in Lawrence on Inman Street. So if you have a problem with your car, somebody dings it. I got somebody ripped my mirror off last week. I got sideswiped.
Really?
Some guy knocked my mirror off. You have a little problem with your car, you want to make sure you bring it to Angelo over at A&M Auto Body. Tell him that you are a listener to this program, and he will take care of you. And he's going to ask you, you can't just say, "Oh, I'm a friend of Tom Duggan's, or I listen to the show," because he's going to ask you, "Oh, what show is that?" He's going to make sure that you really are a friend of ours, that you really do listen.
Either that or Tom Duggan who?
Yeah, exactly, right.
Over there.
Yeah. So and then we've got Fred the Barber.
Fred the Barber.
Yeah, so we had a guy walk into our office a couple weeks ago, Ken DeLuca, who gets his hair cut at Fred the Barber on South Broadway in
I think
Lawrence.
everybody should be somebody the something. Mm-hmm. Everybody should be.
Yeah, I'm Tom the pain in the ass.
Yes.
You're Paul the guy that's always late.
I made it here on time.
You
Don't give me any
you
nonsense.
did within a couple of seconds,
yes.
but you did do it, and I give you credit for
5
that.
seconds to spare.
Absolutely.
Yes.
We also want to throw a free plug out to our good friend, attorney Peter Caruso, who I owe a ton of money to from the last lawsuit that we were involved in, which, by the way, I did not lose. So we actually still have a perfect record, at least so far. We're hoping to continue that. And who else do we have? Two Guys, Twin Lights, A&M. Oh, and then, of course, Joe Zingalis, Rosanna Zingalis from Team Zingalis, Century 21. They sell houses. They buy houses. These people have been with us since the very beginning. They've been with us since 2004 when we started the paper. They weren't with Century 21. They were with someone else back then. Now they're with Century 21. They stayed with us. They are located in Methuen on Pleasant Valley Street. If you are looking to buy a house, if you're looking to sell a house, or if you're looking to rent, they own tons of property too. So they, if you call them, I'm sure they can help you out. I might be homeless someday, so I'm going to be calling them looking for help.
Absolutely, sure. What's interesting about their name? It used to be Cutting Edge because it was the 20th century when they named the place. I would imagine.
Century 21, right?
Yeah,
right.
Cutting Edge, 21st century. Now we're in the 21st century. Are they going to rename themselves the Century 22?
Century 22. Just change it every year now?
Yeah, why not?
It costs you a lot of money on business cards.
It might.
Yeah.
Just to
Websites,
change
cards,
one little digit, but
right?
at least they'll be Cutting Edge again.
So that voice you're hearing is my co-host, Paul Murano, today.
Hello.
We have no Fred and no Meredith today. I don't know why this is doing this. No Fred, no Meredith
no
today.
Fred the newsman.
No Fred the newsman. The guy that says, who's always here for you? Who's here every week for you? And this week he's not here with us.
Yeah.
But that's okay because they are very dedicated. They're actually not here today because they're out trying to help us get a little bit of money for our legal defense fund, which we're going to talk about shortly. But I did want to talk about some topics first before I talk about me because I think I talk way too much about me. And quite frankly, I'm sick of talking about me, and I'm pretty sure most other people are sick of me talking about me. So I wanted to talk about some topics. And I wanted to start. Usually, I say to you, Paul, "Hey, what do you have?"
Yeah, I got some a couple of things, but let's go to yours
but
first.
I want to come back to this Stormy Daniels thing.
Okay.
Because I don't know, Paul.
Yeah.
A woman who's a porn star accuses somebody of sleeping with her. I didn't realize that was a felony in America.
Well, first of
all,
all,
is that a felony? Like, am I wrong about this? Is it going to be an FBI investigation because he slept with somebody or accused of sleeping?
Okay.
How is it even accused? Like,
it is not a felony.
He was accused of sleeping with someone as if he did something wrong. Like, you don't accuse somebody of doing something that's not wrong. So they accuse him of sleeping with. How? Like, I don't understand. Like, first, I don't understand how it's news.
Yeah.
Second, I don't understand how it's the lead story every single day when you've got a possible nuclear war with North Korea, when you've got, hundreds of thousands of illegal aliens streaming across the border.
I disagree with you. I think you do understand, and you're just saying this to get conversation going.
No, I think because she's a porn star, she has big boobs, and they hate Donald Trump.
No, it's particularly that. They want to bring down Trump in any possible way they can.
Right.
Other things haven't worked yet.
Right.
I mean, they're still working on the other things.
Right.
But this is just another way to try to destroy his credibility and bring him down.
But they've already called him a Nazi. How much more of credibility? I mean, how much more can you destroy someone's credibility?
Well, you've got many angles here. You've got a lot of people who like him who may be socially conservative. Mm-hmm. So now they're going after those folks, so the so-called base, to try to get their allegiances against him.
You know what's absolutely hysterical, and I bet you've noticed this too because you're actually part of the group that they're targeting. The media is trying so hard to get religious people to hate Donald Trump because he slept with a porn star. They're apoplectic every night saying, but these religious people, they all must be a bunch of hypocrites because they talk about sexual morality, but they're sticking with this guy.
Yeah.
Right, because though I think, I'm not an overly religious person, but I think it's because they don't care. We're not electing a pope. We're not electing a priest. We're not electing the moral arbiter of our society. We're electing a guy to do a job and make decisions for our government.
We're
and the same people who made excuses for Bill Clinton getting a Hummer in the White House are wringing their hands and going, oh, my God, look how awful it is that Donald Trump could have almost slept with a porn star 10 years ago. Like what?
We're not even electing a neighbor.
Right.
One thing before we get into the meat of the problem, of the question, is why is every actress who does pornography a star?
Right. Well, if you get naked, you're a star.
She's not a porn. She's not a.
Trust me, if you're really willing to get naked and do that on camera, you're a star.
Why is the word star after every single name of somebody who does this?
Well,
all right. Secondly,
and by the way, I don't even think she is a porn star. She's just a stripper.
I don't know. All right. Whatever she is, she's a human being who has done terrible things for herself and is now trying to make a bigger name for herself.
Right. She's looking to cash in.
I didn't see most of the interview on 60 Minutes. A little excerpts, and I still didn't fully understand her stated purpose for doing this. Is it to try to clear her name? And what kind of name does she have to clear?
Well, I don't. Well, this goes right into our next topic, doesn't it? Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think she's trying to clear her name. I think she's trying to make a name for herself. I think.
Well, that seems to be what she said, though. She's trying to.
Yeah. Right. She's the one who brought it out.
Yeah.
She's the one doing interviews. She's the one billing herself as the woman who slept with Donald Trump in strip clubs all over America right now as we speak. I'm pretty sure she's not trying to clear anything. You have to realize there's two different worlds here. There's the world of politics and the world of stripping and pornography and entertainment, right? In her world, in the world of stripping and pornography and entertainment, she's now a commodity because she's the woman who, quote, slept with Donald Trump, if we believe that that's what happened.
Why is that what do you mean by commodity?
She's a commodity. She's got value now.
She has more value because Donald Trump supposedly had sexual relations with her.
And she's on CNN every day.
Yeah.
So she goes to a strip club, say in Boston or in Florida and New York, wherever. They bill her as, this is Stormy Daniels, the woman you see on CNN every day talking about Donald Trump. She slept with Donald Trump. And by the way, look at how big those boobs are. Wow.
So is she somebody that's entering middle age that's trying to sort of revive her immoral lifestyle of a job? Is that what she's trying to do? She's trying to revitalize her name so she can get more jobs?
Well, yeah. She's who was she before all this? Nobody. Right? You think she was getting the kind of money she's getting offered today to do strip clubs?
So to get back to your original question, no, it's not a felony. Was it against the law? No, I don't think it broke any civil laws that I know of. Then why is this happening? Why is it all over the news 24/7?
Sex plus attacking someone that the press doesn't like.
A sex scandal always makes good print.
Depending on who you are. If you're a liberal Democrat, if you're Barney Frank, not so much, right? He had a guy that was a male prostituting out of his house, and the press talked about it when they had to, and then moved on as quick as they could because he was a liberal Democrat. But if you're a Republican, if you're a conservative, then the narrative is, well, conservatives are supposed to be morally above all this stuff, so let's kill this guy even more.
That has been true traditionally. And when I say traditionally, I mean for the past 30 years or so. However, let me give you some challenge to that. Harvey Weinstein.
Yes.
That whole movement.
Only as a means to get to Donald Trump.
You really think
it was only
Weinstein made a name for himself by the mainstream press to get to Donald Trump? What does that mean?
Wait, say it again?
No. What I'm saying is, why is Harvey Weinstein covered by the entire mainstream press?
Only as a means to get to Donald Trump.
Tell me about it. Elaborate.
Prior to Donald Trump,
this
guy was raping women left and right.
That's
like just about every other Hollywood producer that exists, right? Woman wants to be in a movie. She's really hot. Hey, if you sleep with me, maybe we can make this happen, right? But they sure as hell can't be going after Donald Trump if this is going on in their own house. So in order to have the moral high ground, and the press tried very hard with Harvey Weinstein, right? Once women started coming forward, guys like you and I are on talk radio all over America going, hey, wait a minute. Hold on a second. Hollywood's going to lecture us about morality? Look what's going on there. So
but we didn't know about it before Weinstein.
But we knew what was going on in Hollywood, right? We knew about Bill Cosby. We know, even though it's not talked about, we know how Hollywood works. The women who sleep their way to the top get to the top. The women that are at the top, 90% of them had to sleep there to get there, sleep their way to get there. We know how Hollywood works. And this was their way of purging that so that it couldn't be used in a way that would diminish what they're doing to Donald Trump.
Okay.
Plus, what Tucker always says, the revolution always eats itself, right? Eventually, it's like I said a couple weeks ago. If the right-wing neo-Nazis got their way and killed all the blacks and Jews in the world, right, and all the Asians in the world, they were the only ones left, they would find subgroup amongst themselves that they now hated next and go after them next because the revolution always eats itself. It always does. And so that's what's going on now. Now you've got liberals going after liberals for doing those same things. It would have been nice had they done it 20 years ago so that fewer women would have been raped maybe. But when it's politically expedient for them, boy, they have no problem throwing one of their own under the bus. And by the way, I'm glad they did. He's obviously guilty. He's pretty much admitted that he's guilty.
I see it as a good sign. I see it as liberals not, at least in this case, not trying to hide.
But it also feeds into the liberal anti-male narrative, right?
Yes.
Everything that's going on today is about women are underrepresented, women are victims, men are, by virtue of being men, victimizers. And this falls in line with their narrative. This falls in line with a lot of the liberal. It was in their political interest to throw one guy, Harvey Weinstein, under the bus, maybe a few others along.
But they haven't done it before. And what's his name? That's Roman Polanski. Are you familiar with him?
Oh, they're still celebrating him.
Yeah, exactly. And there are others that they celebrate. It's interesting how all of a sudden this guy is their guy that they're going to go after to create this Me Too movement.
Right.
Maybe he was at the center of a lot of big time jobs. Maybe that's why he was prominent or more prominent than these other guys.
I think he also just pissed off the wrong people.
Perhaps.
There were certain women that he slept with or raped or molested or whatever the situation is, and they became as powerful as he is in the Hollywood industry, and then they decided, hey, look, now it's time to get even with him.
Could be. Yeah.
So I from an objective standpoint, it shouldn't be news. Like I don't understand how anybody can justify claiming that this is news. We know why they're doing it, but that doesn't make it news.
So you don't think Stormy Daniels should be news? Do you think Harvey Weinstein should have been news?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because it disrupted all of Hollywood, the entertainment industry.
Here's the thing: if it was just an accusation, I'm not sure it should be news, right?
Okay.
But
it's been proven.
But it's kind of been proven,
and it's ongoing.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So
that's a little different.
I think perhaps what you're saying is part of it is the fact that it's ongoing, like with Bill Clinton and Lewinsky.
With Bill Clinton, he did it while he was president.
That was ongoing.
In the Oval Office.
That was happening.
That's news. Now, if it was in the residence of the White House, that's one thing. But he's in the Oval Office, and he's having sex with an intern, which, by the way, is supposed to be sexual harassment, right? It's actually rape because one person has power and the other doesn't. We keep getting told rape is not about sex, which I completely disagree with. But if we're going to follow the narrative, right, we're going to follow what we're told we have to believe, that sex is about power, then what Bill Clinton did was he raped Monica Lewinsky. So that's a very different story than a guy who might have slept with a porn star 10 years before he became president.
Okay, so with Donald Trump, it's not ongoing.
Right.
And
didn't happen when he was president.
Didn't happen when he was president. And as far as we know, all of the evidence so far that we know of states that it happened at least 10 years ago.
Yes.
Everything that he's been accused of, including that little interview with, what was it, Entertainment Tonight in the trailer?
Yes.
With what's his name? Bush?
Mm-hmm. Billy Bush?
Yeah, what he said there. All of that was, so all of this that has come out to the public has been at least 10 years old.
Mm-hmm. And people knew this about him when they voted for him.
Yeah, they knew all about they knew about the 3 divorces. They knew about his extravagant lifestyle. So it seems to me that religious conservatives in this respect are not contradicting themselves.
No.
Especially if they have somebody that is going against Hillary Clinton.
Right.
I mean, it's like when you get a choice of either A or B, and B would be do much better things for the country than A. Lifestyles of 10 years ago takes a secondary, priority.
I have people on Facebook harassing me all the time saying, why are you making excuses for Donald Trump? You went after so-and-so when he did this. It's just because you like him. I'm not like everyone else. I don't do that, right? If I thought Donald Trump was wrong, and a couple of times I've thought he's been wrong, I came out and I said I think he's wrong.
I think he's wrong in a lot of things that he says.
Well, I don't know about a lot of things. Maybe he is.
I wouldn't, it's not, Donald Trump isn't the kind of guy that I would say, I wanted this guy to be my best friend, or I want him to be my neighbor.
Right.
It's just not that kind of personality. And a lot of stuff that he says in public, particularly in tweets, I think it's totally counterproductive, and it sounds extremely immature.
Yeah.
And this is the kind of personality I would not have written up in a perfect world of somebody to be president.
Right.
It's the kind of personality you don't know if you can trust. Now, all of that said, and so I've never been, personally, I don't know about you, I've never been a Donald Trump kiss-up. He was 17th out of 17 Republicans when they were running for president in my book. But when he was nominated, there was no choice. It was either him or Hillary Clinton. You had to go with Trump. And in my humble opinion, since Trump has been president, even though I dislike lots of what he says and does perhaps behind the scenes, everything he's done as president, I heartily, or virtually everything, I heartily welcome.
Right. So
not hardly, but heartily.
So there are some people who hate politicians or like politicians based on their moral fiber, I guess. There are some people that only judge people on their moral fiber when it's people they don't like, which is most people, right? And then there's objective people like myself and maybe you who look at and they compartmentalize. They separate the two. I separate the two. Honestly, I don't care if he comes out tomorrow and declares that he wants to wear dresses and become a transgender. I really couldn't care less. As long as it's not going to affect the policies that he's going to push, it's not going to affect my taxes.
That's a great question. If you were to take a poll out of all Donald Trump's base,
right,
and say, here you have an election between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, who is transitioning to
a woman,
to be a female, and he's wearing dresses as he goes on his Trump speeches.
I'm still voting for him.
Who would you vote for?
I'm still voting for him.
You know what? I don't know what conservatives would do in that situation.
I tell you what I do. I'm still voting for him. You know why? Because I don't care what he does. It doesn't affect my daily life. What I care about, and I think what most voters care about, is what's going to affect their daily life. Is this guy going to lower your taxes? Is he going to
all of those things?
Is he going to make business better? Is he going to improve education? We're hiring a guy to do a job. I own a company, right? So I have people who work for me. I've got a driver. Let's call him Bill, okay? I get a driver. He beats his wife. He gets arrested for beating his wife. You think I care? He shows up for work the next day. If he delivers the newspapers and he does it right, he's going to deliver the newspapers.
If you were president of the United States and you found out that somebody works for you in your cabinet is a wife beater, the press would kill you.
They might.
Would you keep him on?
Probably.
You would? Mm-hmm. All right, well, that's interesting.
Because that's between the wife and him and the police and the courts. Now, if he gets arrested for beating his wife and he gets convicted, then that's a problem, and he's gone, right?
Then he's guilty.
He's convicted by a jury. He's guilty. That's fine.
All right.
Then he's gone. But
all right. I agree with you that what a president is going to do and does is top priority as to why you vote for somebody. No question. Everything else is secondary. However, there is a secondary purpose or reason to vote for a president, and that is he represents you. Now, you want to be proud of somebody who represents you, don't you?
Generally,
you want to be proud of somebody who represents you. All right. Now, does Donald Trump right now, with all his tweeting and all his getting back at people and his juvenile behavior, does that make you proud? Probably not, right?
No, it does. It makes me very proud.
It makes you proud.
And here's why. Because even though it's juvenile, in some cases it is, even though it's over the top in a lot of cases it is, it makes the people at CNN absolutely nuts. They blow a gasket Don Lemon looks like he's going to cry every night. And whenever they say the term President of the United States, the way they say it, I just chortle in my office out loud. Andrea Mitchell was on last night.
It's difficult for
them? Andrea Mitchell was on last night, and they say it with such disdain. They say, this is the President of the United States doing this. This is the President of the United States. And they can't get over the fact that the President of the United States doesn't hold the liberal, political correct talking points of everything that they've built over the last 8 years under Obama.
I love that stuff, too. I love that. However, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how he's his immature demeanor.
Yeah, no,
that's basically what I'm talking about.
Would it be more helpful if he didn't do it? Yes. Would it be better for him if he didn't do it? And would it be better for what it is we want him to accomplish? Yeah, it probably would be better if he scaled back on the tweets and was a little bit more thoughtful about the tweets that he did. However, I think he uses it strategically. I think they're going to come out and they're going to talk about something he doesn't want them talking about. And he says to Melania, hey, want to watch CNN, not talk about this for the next 3 days? And he grabs his phone and he types in "kafafi." And that's all they talk about. All he wrote was "kafafi." He wrote the word "coffee" with a V in it. And literally, I sat there for 3 days and watched CNN on every single show. Anderson Cooper, Wolf Blitzer, Jake Tapper, right? All the way up to Don Lemon at 10 o'clock. Every single one of them spent every single moment of their show talking about "kafafi." What did it mean? Was it a mistake? Did he not do? Was he trying to do something else? Did he fall asleep while he was tweeting? As if any of this has to do with the rest of our lives. As if anything has to do with my taxes, my kids' education, my property, the border, our security, our military. It's all distraction because here's what they don't want you to talk about. They don't want you – the day that they were talking about "kafafi," you know what they weren't talking about for 3 days?
Important things.
They weren't talking about the fact that the Democrats who say they hate the Patriot Act 100% of them, unanimously in the Senate, voted to renew the FISA provision of the Patriot Act. They weren't talking about that for 3 days. If it was George Bush and the Republicans, and the Democrats voted no, that would be 3 days of story, right?
What about Trump again banning transgenders? They've hardly talked about that.
Yeah,
from the Army.
But I'm not sure that's going to stay. I hope that it does. I don't care if someone wants to be a transgender in their life. If an employer wants a guy to be able to come to work and service, his coffee shop or whatever, and they're a transgender and he's okay with the guy wearing a woman's dress or vice versa, that's between them. But when you join the military, you're no longer an individual. When you join the military, it's about cohesion. It's about fitting in. It's about doing a job as a team and as a unit. And if you want to leave, and if you want to go on leave from the Army and wear dresses all weekend while you're on leave, couldn't care less. I don't think you should be thrown out of the military for that. But while you're serving, you should be wearing the same uniform as everybody else. If you have a penis, you should be with the men. And if you don't, you should be with the women. Let me rephrase that. If you were born with a penis, you should be with the men. If you were not born with one, you should be with the women. And if you've got some kind of a problem in between, well, then you need to get your shit together. And you shouldn't be in the military trying to be cohesive with a team. Now, that's not prejudice. It's not bigotry. I don't think these people should be denied jobs. I don't think these people should be denied housing. But what I do think is there are certain situations where you need to conform. And the military is the number one place you need to conform, because if you've got a unit that's not working in conformity, it's not going to work on the battlefield. It just isn't. Now, have some transgendered people served the military and served honorably? Yes. But I would argue that I'm sure, positive, that it caused enough turmoil in their unit that it caused problems.
There are a number of things that the military rejects people for.
Right.
A number of things. Some of those are mental health issues. Mm-hmm. I just think in our society today we have lost any kind of compass as to what is healthy and what is unhealthy, particularly when it comes to mental health, especially when that relates to something that's politically incorrect.
Right.
Somebody who has 100% of their billions of cells as XY or XX and seeks or identifies with and seeks to change that to their other sex, there's something psychologically going on here that needs to be treated.
Be careful, you'll get thrown off Facebook.
That needs to be treated for their sake. And I mean, studies show that so many people who do go through the hormones and the surgical procedures are extremely depressed. The suicide rate is sky high, and many of them are in deep regret because what is deep inside of them that isn't getting any attention, that makes them so uncomfortable with themselves, has never been addressed in any meaningful way.
All right. Well, what do you say we take a quick break? And when we come back, I want to talk about our GoFundMe page. We could use a little bit of help. Fighting a First Amendment lawsuit again. And hopefully it's going to get dismissed out of the gate. It should get dismissed out of the gate. It's an elected official suing me, and I'm pretty sure elected officials should be fair game on just about anything. We'll talk about that when we come back. Here in the Paying Attention podcast, high atop Studio 21 Podcast Cafe.
This is Jill Stein, and you're listening to Paying Attention.
Attention cigar smokers. Looking for cigars? Look no further than Two Guys Smoke Shop. It's never a gamble at Two Guys Smoke Shop, with 3 locations in tax-free New Hampshire and over 1 million cigars on hand. We don't play around.
Two Guys Rock. Two Guys Rock. With 1 million choices in Stogie Heaven.
Hi, this is Jimmy Flynn from the Lawrence Fire Department, Engine 5, and I hope you're listening to Paying Attention.
Yeah, this is Robert Clary. I'm the author of From the Holocaust to Hogan's Heroes on Madison book, and you're listening to Paying Attention.
Hi, I'm Allie from EIS Inc. We provide security, investigations, and training. We advertise in the Valley Patriot. Why? Because it really works.
Twin Lights Security and Investigations advertises in the Valley Patriot newspaper. Why? Because it really works. But don't take our word for it. Just ask our advertisers. They'll tell you advertising in the Valley Patriot newspaper really works. Broke, I don't want your money. Someone else who's pretty awesome. Century 21, Joe Zingales and Rosanna Zingales Lopez at Team Zingales. They sell houses. They buy houses. They've been with us from the very first year of the Valley Patriot in 2004 when they were Remax, before they were Century 21. Joe gave a $2,000 scholarship last year at our bash. This year he's giving a $1,000 scholarship at the bash. He sponsors our police rallies. Century 21 Team Zingales sponsors our political debates when we did the sheriff's debates, primary and final election. He sponsors this show. He sponsors us in the Valley Patriot. So you see a pattern here. People who come in with us, they get the publicity of this show and the newspaper and all the stuff that we do. They get business from it, and they stay with us. And they stay with us because advertising with us works. That's just a fact. All right, now, we have a new sponsor today, and I apologize we didn't get to him. We're going to promote the crap out of him next week, I promise. Fred the Barber. Anybody remember Fred the Barber in Lawrence on South Broadway? He's been there for about 185 years. And he looks pretty good for 185.
Yeah.
Fred the Barber at 309 South Broadway in Lawrence is our new sponsor, thanks to Ken DeLuca, who bought a sponsorship for them because he loves Fred the Barber so much. He's been in business 25 years. He's open 7 days a week. He is on South Broadway right next to Yokohama, which used to be a great sushi place, not really so much anymore. They're open at 8:30 every morning, 7 days a week. Fred is there Monday through Friday, and Mike is there every other day. And you can still get a $15 haircut.
Nice.
Like, I don't know anywhere else you can go, anywhere, including Lawrence, where you can get a $15 haircut, even with the 5,000 barbers there are all over North Lawrence. And they're open
Fred the Barber.
Fred the Barber is our new sponsor, and we certainly appreciate him. Then we've got Angelo Memolo from A&M Auto Body. He's in the old Metropolitan Building on South Broadway, right down the street from Fred the Barber. So you go get your car taken care of, and you go get a haircut while you're waiting. How about that,
That's
right?
great.
So you go see Angelo in the old Metropolitan Building on South Broadway in Lawrence. Angelo is such a great guy. He advertises in the print edition of the Valley Patriot. He advertises on this show. And this morning, Paul, he called me and he said, how much is it for a table to your bash?
Okay.
I want to buy a table. He said, I'm probably only going to come with 1 or 2 people. So how many ever empty seats there are at my table, you can have a veteran sit there for free. I'll pay for their ticket.
That's awesome.
So that's a guy you want to do business with, right? I do business with good people. And if I have an advertiser that's not someone like Angelo, I really don't want their money. I don't care if I go broke. I don't want your money. Twin Lights Security, Patrick McLaughlin, Mike Thibodeau at Twin Lights Security. They not only are a great security company that provides personal and business security, they're also private investigators. And not only do they provide, they're going to be providing for free the security at the 14th anniversary bash next Friday on March 23rd. But they also employ me. I do private investigations with them from time to time when they have a need. When they need somebody to do like a real investigation, because I'm an investigative reporter, it's kind of like what I do. Who do we miss out?
You know what happens if you're not paying attention.
Look, anybody who wants to run can run. And Marcos Devers won handily in white neighborhoods in South Lawrence.
And I thank all the voters who voted for Marcos Devers.
On the other hand, no white person will ever beat a Hispanic in North Lawrence in Spanish neighborhoods. On their own. If Barbara Gonzalez runs against Jesus Christ in District C, Jesus isn't winning. And you know it. Although they might be confused, they'll say Jesus and they'll think maybe he's Hispanic. But they'll see Gonzalez and they're going with the Z every time. You know it, don't you? Let's take a phone call. I'll take the laughter as an indictment.
So don't miss a minute paying attention with Tom Duggan.
Alrighty. Welcome back. Kind of feels like I just said all that stuff.
Yes. I don't think the people listening understand that all of that stuff was pre-recorded from a show past.
Right, yeah.
They probably thought that was live.
Yeah, no, it wasn't
as if
live.
you said the whole, that would mean that you said the whole thing twice.
Twice, right,
Yeah.
right. Well, we got to take care of our sponsors because they're the only reason why we're here. And maybe this would be a good time to talk about our GoFundMe page. So we are being sued. And in Massachusetts, if you are a corporation, you cannot represent yourself. This was a way for the lawyers that run the legislature to get more business for their lawyer friends and themselves. So we need to come up with $5,000 by early next week in order to answer this lawsuit we've been filed by an elected official. And we've raised about $1,100 on the GoFundMe page. I've raised another $1,000 beside the GoFundMe page. If you go to GoFundMe and you type in Valley Patriot, it should come right up. Anything that you can give will help us. We're trying to stay in business. This guy is suing me and suing my paper because he's trying to close us down. He's trying to shut the paper down. And I'm going to go down fighting if I go down, but I'm going to fight. And the only way I can do that is if I can raise money to pay a lawyer to go in and fight for me. We've got a great lawyer. I'm not going to tell you who he is yet because he hasn't filed. And we don't want to tell the other side who we have, and then they can start doing research on that guy and start trying to destroy him. But the guy who's suing me hired Mintz, Levin & Cohn in Boston, like a multi-billion-dollar law firm, to sue a guy that makes $29,000 a year. So this is not really about the lawsuit. It's really about trying to put me out of business, because whether I win or lose, if we don't win on summary judgment at the beginning, it's going to probably cost me more money. Even if we win, it's going to cost me so much money we're going to have to close the paper. And that's bad for everybody because we are a small monthly paper. We've been around since 2004. We do a lot of good for a lot of people, whether it's helping homeless veterans, whether it's giving scholarships to kids at our charity bash like we did last week. I almost wish that this had hit me a little sooner than it did because we gave $10,500 worth of scholarships last week. If I'd known, maybe I would have given $5,000. We gave another $3,000 or $4,000 to local veterans groups. Maybe I would have given $1 or $2. So I gave all my money away last week. Like literally, we gave away all of our money. And I do that every year because I only need the only expenses that I need to live. I don't make a lot of money. I made $29,000 last year. I do it as a labor of love. I believe in the First Amendment. I believe we're fighting for the First Amendment. We've been sued a number of times. We haven't lost. Hopefully that's going to continue, but it only continues if we can pay the attorneys to represent us. So please go to GoFundMe, type in Valley Patriot, give what you can. I've got 11,000 people follow me on Facebook. If everybody gave $1 or $2, we'd be fine. We'd be able to pay this lawyer. We'd be able to get through the first round and maybe even win the first round. I think we actually have a really good shot at getting it dismissed out of the gate. This guy's an elected official. He's claiming he's got all kinds of damages that we're pretty sure he doesn't have. Not one person since my story has come out, not one, has called for his resignation. Not one person has mentioned my story at a city council meeting, a school committee meeting. In fact, the person that's suing me, this elected official, held a public forum one day last week in Methuen where the voters, the public, were invited to come and listen to him speak and ask him any questions that they want. And it never came up once. We had somebody there for the specific purpose of seeing whether or not this was going to come up, whether it caused him problems, if people were going to say, hey, you're a bum because of what Duggan wrote. And none of that happened. So no one's talking about my story except him. No one is demanding that he resign. There's no, there's nobody out there calling for a recall election against this guy. So I'm pretty sure he doesn't have the damages that he says that he has. I think that we can probably win this in the first round. And if that happens, we all move forward, right? We all move forward, and anything that he can show that I got wrong, I'll be happy to say that I got it wrong. Even if we win, I'm going to say that right out of the gate. Even if we win, if we take this to term and we win, and I'm not legally responsible to admit that I did anything wrong, if he can show me along the way that I got something wrong, I'm more than happy to say I got it wrong, because that's what I do, right? Paul, you've been knowing me for, 13 years now?
Yeah.
People have called into my show on numerous occasions over that 13 years and said, Tom, I think you got something wrong. And sometimes it's even embarrassing that I got something wrong. And the first thing that I say is, what, Paul? You're right.
Yeah, I mean, you don't seem to have a problem with correcting something, including in your newspaper or on air, if you're proven wrong. So
yeah, and because that's who I am, and if
you're seeking the truth of the story.
Because to me, it's about my readers and my listeners. I want them to have the right information. So I wrote a story probably about 2 or 3 years ago. It's not even important what it is. I got a major part of the story wrong. and my phone lit up the minute the paper hit the streets. And I opened the paper and I looked at it and I realized I had published the wrong version. I had put the draft in. I had laid the draft into the paper by accident. And in the final, I had actually taken that piece out because I actually had researched it along the way. And the minute I saw it in print, my heart just sank and I went, oh my God. I came into the radio show. We were on CAP at the time and started my show off with, before we start, I have a story in this month's paper, and I got something wrong. Someone showed me that I got it wrong, and here's what I got wrong. I just want my listeners and my audience to have the right story at the end of the day. That's who I am. So I'm just going to say right out of the gate, even if we win all the way to the end, even if it gets if we go into the first round and it gets dismissed, but during that hearing something comes up that, hey, yeah, Tom got something wrong in this, I'll be the first one to say it, even if I'm not legally responsible to, because like we said with Mike Demers, right? The Hafner's oil company is not legally responsible to finish the cleanup of that oil spill that we talked about a few weeks ago. But they looked his mom in the eye and promised they'd make it right. They should do it, right? They should just do it on their own. They should do it. After they won their case, they should have gone to the Demers family and said, look, now that we've won this and we're not legally responsible to give you whatever millions you were looking for, we did say we'd clean this up. And let's work together and see if we can't find a way to make you guys happy and make this right. I'm about making things right. If that's not worth keeping this paper going, I don't know what is.
It's too bad you and the accuser can't get together for a private lunch even before everything begins.
Yeah.
I'm dead serious.
I am too.
And talk about, I just want the truth. What do you see as untrue about my story?
Right.
And, have him explain it to you, and you explain it to him. And then perhaps you could actually come to a consensus.
Look, if this guy, after my story came out, had called me on the phone, he hated me long before this. So, he wouldn't even say hi to me. I'd see him at events and say, hi, Mary, he'd just walk by. Fine. You don't have to like me. I've always said that. But if he called me on the phone, I had maybe somebody on his behalf call me on the phone, right? And say, Tom, you got this all wrong. You got paragraph 3 says this, and this is the truth. And paragraph 5 says this, and this is the truth. I would say put it in writing. Send it to me. I'll publish every word of it, and we've done that. Bob Westcott, we can give you 10 examples of people that have written stories. I've written a story. Someone doesn't like it. They write eviscerating me. I publish every word of it. And then let the readers decide, right? So if I had gotten a phone call and someone had said, you got something wrong, calling on behalf of this particular elected official that you wrote about, and he'd like to respond in kind, I would have given him all the room that he wanted. I don't think he's interested in correcting the record. I think he's just interested in destroying me. And that's why he hired a multi-billion-dollar firm to go after a guy that makes $29,000 a year. So I don't think sitting down in a room, maybe I'll be wrong about that, but I'm not interested. I don't think he's interested in sitting down in a room with us and trying to work anything out. I think and by the way, not for anything, but that kind of coincides with what I was trying to convey to people this guy really was, right? That he was a bully, that he was a political hack, and that he was a bully, and that he destroys people that he doesn't like. And now he's doing it to us. I think the fact that he's trying to use a sledgehammer to kill a fly, just by virtue of hiring Mintz Levin, I think says a lot to a lot of people. Like, you could have hired any lawyer in the world that could have handled this case. And here's the other reason that they hired a big law firm, because if we lose a defamation suit, we're responsible for paying their legal fees. So if you hired some local lawyer that charges like $50 an hour, well, that might not bankrupt me if he wins. But Mintz Levin and Cohen probably burned through $1 million just doing the first filing, right? I mean, they're a multi-million-dollar company, and they've got tons of people working for them, and they're all former senators, they're all former state reps, they're all former, they're all former politicians and people who worked at the State House. They're all uber connected, so it's going to be a fight. And if you guys could go to the GoFundMe page, type in Valley Patriot, it's on my Facebook page. If you click the cover page on my Facebook page, it'll bring you to the link. I would appreciate whatever you can give. $5,000 is not a lot of money when you consider how many people listen to us and how many people read us and how many people follow us on Facebook. So I'm just going to leave it at that. I got a couple other political topics I wanted to talk about. We've got good 15 minutes. Did you have anything burning, Paul? I wanted to talk a little bit about the census. I don't know if that's on your list.
Oh, the census is definitely not on my list.
All right. What is on your list? We'll use your topic for now.
Well, I've got a couple of beneath the surface kind of issues and one paying attention kind of issue. Which one do you want to go with first?
Let's do a paying attention.
All right. It looks like former Supreme Court Justice John Paul Stevens has come out against repealing the Second Amendment.
Come out against it?
Excuse me. Come out against the Second Amendment. Come out for repealing the Second Amendment.
Right.
Yes.
That would make more sense.
And I would just say that before we say anything about whether it should be or not, I admire his forthrightness in saying, not coming out with an ambiguous "we need change" nonsense,
right.
but actually saying exactly what he wants and what he believes should happen.
Right.
Now, agree with him or not, I think that's good. This is what should happen. Too many people.
You should always be able to say what you believe to be true. That's what America's supposed to be about.
Yeah, don't lie to the public.
We're going to find out if that's true when I get to court, but you should always be able to say what you believe.
Don't hold back as to what you actually want. Say what you want. At least we can understand that. It seems like a lot of people today are ignoring the fact that the Second Amendment exists. This guy isn't, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
No.
However, I agree with you. I admire that he was honest. However, please step down now, because you can't be.
He's retired.
He was.
He's a retired Supreme Court justice.
You caught me.
Yeah.
Sorry. All right.
Yeah.
Next topic, I guess.
Yeah.
Retired Supreme Court justices can say whatever they want. They're retired.
I understand. Well, you know that I'm pretty actively and vociferously pro-life.
Mm-hmm.
I never speak in a sort of guarded way so that people might not know exactly what I would like to have happen.
Yeah, me neither. Look where it got me.
Well, I mean, I try to say it in an intellectually astute and nice, decent way, but I believe that all murder of the innocent, whether they be born or unborn, should be against the law. There should be consistency in the civil law against murder. I don't see anything.
Yeah, but we talk about this every week. There's nothing consistent about any of our laws.
No, I understand.
Nothing.
But I'm not going to say let's protect children up to 6 weeks after conception, or after 6 months, or viability, or any of these other things. I'm not for that. That's not my thing. I think every human being who is innocent should be protected by law. I think that's the purview of the law, to protect the innocents, whether they be born. It doesn't matter what their level of maturity or dependence is at the time of the stage of their. So I'm just saying, with this new movement about guns, let's be open, let's be honest, and let's have a true dialogue about what you really want.
Right. I think
so far I've just heard ambiguities. We need change.
I don't hear ambiguities. I hear lies. I hear Democrats saying, we don't want to take your guns away while they're submitting legislation to take your guns away. They say, we're not against the Second Amendment. A law-abiding citizen should be able to have it, unless you're mentally ill. If you're mentally ill and you're a law-abiding citizen, they do want to take your gun. So it's all just a big lie. At least Stevens was being honest. The Democrats can never just come out and say what they really believe.
Well, it's not politically expedient, so they can't be philosophically honest.
Right. Until they gain power, then suddenly they become real honest, right? Because then they don't care anymore. They've already achieved the power that they wanted.
Unless they want to be, it depends on the district that they represent.
Right,
yeah.
Right. So we have this controversy now about the census. It's a manufactured controversy, but a controversy nonetheless. The census for years has asked people on the census, are you an American citizen or not? Now, and then for a while we didn't. I think somewhere in the 50s or 60s they stopped doing that. I don't know why they stopped doing that, but they did. The purpose of the census is to count everyone. I get that. It's the Democrat talking point. They're not wrong about that. However, there's a lot of other things that the census asks that have nothing to do with counting people. They ask you how many dogs you have. They ask you how many refrigerators you have. They ask you your race. Why would they? There's nothing in the Constitution that says they should be asking your race. The Democrat talking points, the CNN talking points on this census change, now that Trump is going to be asking people what their immigration status is on the census, their talking point is, well, this is supposed to be for counting everyone, not for counting illegal aliens. We shouldn't be counting illegal aliens. And they're not even being honest about that. They're saying it's unconstitutional. Well, if it's unconstitutional to ask someone if they're an illegal alien, certainly it should be unconstitutional to ask you something you can't control, like your race. I mean, there's nothing in the Constitution that says that the government should be counting how many dogs you have. Yet it's on the census.
So if they ask this question, are you an illegal alien? What percentage of illegal aliens are going to check yes?
Yeah, probably not many. Probably not. But the reason that they don't want this change to go through is because they know, you know, and I know, and everybody listening knows that the number that they use of 11 million people who are here illegally is so totally fucking bogus. It's the most funny thing in the world.
What do you think it is?
I think it's probably closer to 20 or 30 million. And I think they're counting 11 million Latinos maybe who are here illegal. We got a lot of people coming here illegally from all over the world, whether it's Saudi Arabia, whether it's Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan, Canada, Iceland, Ireland. How many illegal Irish people are there in South Boston? You can't spit without hitting one, right?
I don't know.
So this 11 million bullcrap, and every time somebody says it's 11 million, I laugh because how can you know that? They're illegal. They're not documented. By virtue of being undocumented, we don't know who they are or how many of them are here.
I always wondered what did they count them?
And this is why they don't want a census that's actually going to enumerate and count and have science and scientific measures to declare how many, to know how many illegals are here. And I think if people realized how many illegals were really here, I think this debate would go a lot differently.
No, agreed with all that.
At least the Democrats believe that.
Agreed with all that. Now let's get to the practical question.
All right,
would it work? Like I said, how many would check yes?
Oh, well, you're right. Most of them probably would.
So after realizing that, then what? Right. What kind of scientific measure could we put in place that would actually get us real numbers?
I don't know that you could. Like, unless you get arrested and they do your fingerprints and they run you through the system and they find out that you personally are not here legally, otherwise I don't know how you do that. There are hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people who are here illegally, who are living in the shadows, so to speak. They're using someone else's Social Security number or no Social Security number at all. They're working under the table, whether they're driving a cab or doing construction. And we have no idea how many of them are here. I think it would be good for us to know that. Well, I don't think, and by the way, I think it actually helps the states that have a lot of illegal aliens because a lot of funding is tied to the census. So if you have more, and by the way, the congressional apportionment is also by census. So if you have, let's say instead of having 11 million illegal aliens in the country, we have 30 million. Let's just use that for fun. And let's say a large portion of those people live in California. Well, California would get more money from the federal government because they have more people, legal or not legal. I mean, you have more people going to your schools, showing up at your hospitals, being arrested, showing up at soup kitchens, whatever it is that the government's paying for. You have more people who are in need of those services or getting those services. Paul,
have we tried E-Verify yet?
E-Verify.
They've been saying that.
They're trying.
Do you remember Mitt Romney got lambasted for using the term self-deportation? Do you remember that?
For some reason, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, that was big back in I don't know, but it was the primaries of whenever he ran.
Right.
Seems to me pretty reasonable, though. If you use an E-Verify system to ensure that businesses do not hire illegal immigrants, they go back home because there's nothing for them to eat.
Right.
If they have no money.
Listen,
so they self-deport.
And it's very easy to see why people come here. There's a lot of illegal aliens that come here. They don't want to be American citizens. I know a lot of them. I know there's a lot of Dominicans in Lawrence. They come here
to bring money back to their folks.
Right. They come here because the money exchange, the dollar exchange, I can't think of what is the word of that. The exchange of
currency?
The currency difference. $1 in the United States, last I checked, $1 in the United States is like $40 in the Dominican Republic. Okay. That means if you have $1,000 and you go to the Dominican Republic with $1,000, you've really got in their economy, in their country, you have $40,000 to spend. That's a lot of money in a poor country.
Sure.
So you have a lot of people who come here, they work 5 or 10 years, whether it's under the table or with a Social Security number that's not theirs, and they're sending money home. And every time they send $100 home, it's like they're sending $400 home. And I understand why they're doing that. They have a very poor family back, whatever country that they came from. In this case, it's the Dominican. And they're trying to take care of their family. But they're not coming here for a better life for their family here. They're coming here, many of them, because they want to take the riches that you can get here in this country and send it home to their country.
Well, I mean, you have various reasons, and we've just named 2 of them. What do we do about it? And Donald Trump says that we need a fence.
Well, we do need we need a wall.
Excuse me, a wall.
We need a wall with a moat and piranhas and alligators and an electric fence and snipers on the wall. And it's not just to stop people from coming here illegally. It's to stop the flow of drugs from pouring across the border. Now, we had a Facebook discussion one day last week. Not we, but me and my Facebook followers.
Yeah.
And I've got this guy who was always coming on saying these simplistic talking points like, but we all know a wall is not going to work. They're going to tunnel under it. They're going to climb over it. Well, that depends on what your definition of work is. If you build a wall and it stops 90% of the people who are just walking across the border every day, then it worked. Of course, 10% are going to get through, whatever the percentage is. I'm making it up, right? Of course, a certain percentage of people are going to make it through. But it's no different than locking your car door. You lock your car door even though you've got windows people can break and still steal your car, right?
Yeah.
But you do it to deter the 90% of people who aren't going to go through the extreme measures of breaking your window to steal your car, right? You do it because 90% of the people who are going to look to steal a car are going to look to steal a car that's the easiest to steal, and that's the one that's not locked.
Sure.
You lock your car, you lock your house door even for the same reason, even though someone can climb in a window. So don't give us this crap that, quote, it doesn't work. Because if your idea of it working is stopping 100%, then you're not living in the real world. Nothing's 100%, right?
That's right.
So it's just a bogus talking point.
Yeah.
Go ahead. We've got 4 minutes, Paul.
I just don't know if, like I said to you, I think it was last week or the week before, I think the immediate situation calls for a wall, but in the long run, a permanent wall might go against us.
Well, I think you're right.
And it could be deadly.
Yeah, but it won't be in my lifetime.
We don't know.
Well,
we're talking about a tyrannical, totalitarian regime that could come up out of nowhere.
Trump is a Nazi, right?
It won't be Trump, but some future situation where people actually need to leave the country in order to save their lives, and there's a huge permanent wall there, it might go against us. So I'm just saying, in the bigger picture, I'm not sure if I'm comfortable with the idea. In the small picture, I am.
All right. So you really have no strong feelings on the whole census thing, right?
Well, I mean, isn't this sort of similar to the whole you need an ID to vote kind of thing?
Yes, you do need an ID. You should need an ID to vote.
You should need an ID to vote. So, I mean, we're just not serious about this yet. I mean, we need to get serious about this.
I just want to stop. I just want the lying to stop. Democrats want to stop the wall, not because it's not going to work, but because it will work. They want as many illegal aliens to come in this country to replace the white voters that aren't voting for them anmore. They want as many Latinos. Because as we said on previous shows, if Latinos started voting Republican in large numbers, Lizzie Warren would be out there with the mortar and the bricks herself building. She'd be having internment camps in Kansas for all the people that need to be deported, and her and Barney Frank and the rest of them, and Barack Obama would be there making sure these Latinos get the hell out of the country. They don't care about Latinos. They don't care about Mexicans. They care about replacing the white voters, the average white middle class that's no longer voting Democrat. They're trying to overpopulate the white middle class with foreigners, citizens of other countries that are going to come here and vote for them so they can maintain their power. That's really all it's about. So this fight about the census, the fight about the wall, the fight about all this other stuff, it's really all about replacing Americans with non-Americans who will vote for them.
Isn't this kind of obvious?
Yeah, for anybody who pays attention, it's obvious. But a lot of people, they're so busy with their own lives that they don't pay attention.
And yet, just to try to be somewhat fair, to always try to be fair.
1 minute, Paul.
Try to always be fair.
Yep.
Republicans don't do anything about illegal immigrants either, because many of them want the under-the-table cheap labor.
Right, but they're not fighting for it. You get some like Bill Kristol and some of the never-Trumpers. But the Republican Party itself, they're feckless, right? But they're not out there fighting. They're not out there fighting to bring in more and let them stay. They're not going on TV saying, by the way, ICE is coming at 3 o'clock this afternoon, so if you're a criminal, make sure you get out of Dodge.
No question.
Right? So if you got to trace between the two, you got to go with the Republican Party. I mean, as much as I hate to, I'm not a Republican anymore for this very reason.
I completely agree.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We're cutting the show short this week to an hour. We're going to be an hour starting next week. Excellent. We'll get the Worthing playing. Thank you to Melvin Taylor for coming to our bash.
An extra
last
hour
week.
next week? Is that what you said? Or just an hour next week? Just an hour next week. Okay.
And I want to thank everybody who supported our bash, the Lawrence firefighters, the Methuen firefighters, the Lawrence police, the Methuen police, the chiefs of all the communities. I want to thank Al Valo, who contributed a lot of money to our scholarships. Laborers Union Local 175 gave us $1,000 for our scholarships. Eugene Smith, an Army veteran, gave us $1,000 for our scholarships. We'll talk about more of that on upcoming shows. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Go to our GoFundMe page. Go to GoFundMe, type in Valley Patriot. Every little bit that you can give is going to help us. We're trying to keep this paper going. We're trying to keep this show going. And if there's no Valley Patriot, there's no show, there's no books, there's no helping veterans, there's no driving around chasing police calls at night. And Tom has to go out and get a real job.
And listen to my radio show, Beneath the Surface, on WCAP, 10 to 11 p.m. every Monday night.
All right, thank you. Melvin Taylor says go home, so go home already.
Let's do it.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.